It's time to take a look at the long side rails. And for that, I've got two boards. They're nice and clean for the most part. They were a bit split at the end, but I've just managed to cut the splits off and retain the length that I need. They're 180 millimeters wide. They've thicknessed at 24 millimeters, which is generous for an X-inch board, but it's not quite enough to give me the thickness required to accommodate the bolt mechanism, which is going to fix the side rails of the bed to the legs, to the bed posts. So we're going to have to beef it up at the end here. It did say they're quite clean. This one has got a few wormholes. There's a bit of woodworm here. It's been attacked at some point in its life. This is kilned, so unless this has just happened while it's been in the barn, which is possible but not that likely, this happened at some point when the tree was living. So they'll be dead anyway because it's been killed. And they're on the inside. The other thing that's not quite perfect with this board is this area here. It's still rough sawn here. The rest of it is smooth, but I don't want to take it down to get the whole board smooth because that will reduce the thickness. And 24 millimeters, even though it's generous for an inch, isn't yet thick enough for what I want. So I don't want to take it down anymore. Instead, I'm going to just sand that smooth. It's on the inside. It won't be seen. It's not used for anything. It's just the surface. And if you think that that's a bit of a craftsmanship bodge, then take that up with the late David Savage, because he used to do exactly the same thing when it was necessary. And if it was good enough for David Savage, it's certainly good enough for me. So the first thing to do then is to route a groove in the ends here, which is going to take my threaded rod and then a cavity about 6 inches in, which will allow me access to put a washer and a nut on this end. I'll get the router out. Nice, very nice, and with any luck that will sit in there. Perfect. Whew. A bit of cleaning up at the ends. Okay, a bit of clearing up, but that's a nice cavity. So now when this piece is glued onto there, it will complete the channel for this, and it will also give me a bearing surface there for the nut. And this edge will give me a bearing surface for the slatted base of the bed. It's time to put some tenons in the ends of these rails. And to do that, I'm going to use my big Domino. I don't use it very often, actually. The last time I used it was to repair the door that blew off in the wind on my old workshop. So that was about 3 years ago. I've not used it since then. There are 2 waggle positions on the big Domino, 3 on the little one, and I'm going to use the big waggle setting. Now, the trouble with Dominoes is that they only come in one size, and they're always the size to fit the smallest waggle. So if you want a bigger tenon, you've either got to put a couple side by side, or you've got to make your own. So I'm going to be making my own. I'm going to use the big waggle setting, and I'm going to make 2 cuts for each mortise. I've already marked out the centres of where the mortises are. This wood is 24 millimeters thick, and there isn't a 12mm setting on the machine. There's 10 and the next one is 15. So I've set it with 10, but put this in as well. This is the ruler off my little square, and this is a 2mm thickness. So it's the center of the cutter will be 12mm, so it'll be slap bang in the middle of my thickness. To make the two cuts, I'm not going to align the center of the graticule on my center line of my mortise. Instead, I'm going to go 10mm either side, and there are 10mm markings on the graticule itself. So that means I only need one mark on the wood, and I'll be able to get my two centers 10mm either side, and then I'll just go slap bang in the middle to clean out anything that's missing where they overlap. So I'll get my little camera set up, and we'll take it from there. See you in a minute. I am not a very happy bunny because I've done something really stupid. A rookie error. Travail d'apprenti, as they say over here in France. Work of an apprentice. On Sunday, I started routing the mortises and the legs to take the tenons and the rails. And the hole for the bolt and the tenons are not in a straight line. And I knew that. I knew I'd got to offset the mortises to match. And I measured and I marked and I checked and I checked again, and I cut them beautifully cleanly, exactly as I'd marked. And it was in the wrong place because I'd made a mistake in my head about how to calculate the offset. So some rude words ensued, and I thought, well, what am I going to do? Just plug them and recut them? But the plugs would still be visible on the inside faces of the legs. And this particular leg that I'd done was the one that's going to be closest to the door. So you'll see it when you walk into the house, into the room. So I plugged them, trimmed them off. I took 3mm off the face, and I've put a new veneer on, 3mm or so. And so at 3:10 on a Thursday afternoon, I'm back to where I was on Sunday morning. And if you think it's taken a long time to do that, well, it jolly well has. I've only got one contact lens at the moment. I can't wear the other one. It's just too painful. I don't know what the problem is. But it means I can't see properly. I've got no binocular vision. It's difficult to mark stuff out. I'm having to use can't find it. Here we are. A magnifying glass for anything important. And it's just such hard work to do that. So you had to use an extra board to do it, but the end result is that it looks right. So now I'm going to have another go at routing these mortises, and this time I hope I've got it right. See you in a minute. This is my setup for routing mortises. It's the ultimate router mortising jig, and there's a whole film about how to make and use this jig. It is rather wonderful. I have to, even if I say so myself. It's got travel stops, so I can just move from one end to the other. I've set the cutting depth to be about 32mm because the tenons are 30mm, and obviously I don't want to bottom out. And after the little debacle on Sunday, I've changed the position of the router cutter. And I know it's right now because I've worked at the center line of my cutter. And this little gadget here, I made this with the help of my friend Stuart. It's the first metal turning I've done since I was at school. It's 1/2 inch at one end and it's 1/4 inch at the other end. And it allows me to see exactly where the center of the cutter is going to be. So that's quite handy. So all I need to do now is get cabled up and cut my first mortise properly this time. See ya. You might need another millimetre on that. That looks good to me. Good. Right, let's see how well this fits. Oh, look at that! Fantastic. Would be if the nut wasn't cross-threaded. I think I've got to clean that thread out a bit. That is how it should be. Excellent. Please ring that bell, because that way you'll get a notification when I upload my next video, which will be making the slatted headboard and putting it all together. Until then, enjoy your workshop. Cheerio!